Hi, welcome to Peak Moment. I'm Janaea Donaldson, and I'm here in Eugene, Oregon, at a home, a suburban home that's a demonstration of what permaculture is about. And I'm here with the owner and the builder and the creator, Jan Spencer. Thank you for joining me.
Yeah, well, I'm glad you came.
It's Jan is the coordinator of the Eugene Permaculture Guild, and we're going to get a tour of the whole place. Shall we?
Sure, this way. I moved in here 6 years ago.
Okay.
And my intention from the very beginning was to make best use of on-site assets. Okay. The sun, the soil, and rain. So I have constructed different ways to make use of those assets in the 6 years I've been here. It's been a great experience. I cannot emphasize how much fun it is to do this.
I could tell. I mean, your hands say, I have been busy and happy.
Yeah, yeah.
And your place says that. I mean, everything has this sense of, you know, buddies. I mean, I can see this, the flowers with the plant, you know. Well, so tell me, what am I seeing? What do we have
There's
here?
multiple use. One of the primary ideals of permaculture is multiple use.
Okay.
To design is everything. When you design things right, they interact, they mutually support each other. And permaculture, you're kind of somewhat recreating a little bit of an ecosystem where you have little checks and balances, and there's greater stability when there's a greater amount of complexity.
And I would imagine more resilience.
Exactly.
I mean, you're not going to have, if you had a monoculture, you're going to have all the bugs come in and wipe it out some year, and here you've got more protections, I guess, or compatibilities.
Yeah. There's just much more complexity, and it's not dependent on a single species. This place is a botanical garden, a virtual.
It does look it. It really does.
An edible botanical garden.
It really does.
So
it's
some of the
beautiful.
things, maybe what we should do first is we can take a look at the water catchment system.
Okay.
How does that sound?
That's good.
Okay. Well, I have two tanks. I have two 1,600-gallon water tanks.
Okay.
Comes off the roof over here. This is just completely off the shelf, right out of the hardware store components. It's downspout.
Okay.
And we go across the side of the house.
Through the jungle.
Through the jungle. And we come back here. And what we have is a polyethylene agricultural tank.
Okay.
And it holds 1,600 gallons. And I've discovered very much how much water a given amount functions in the garden.
And that is?
And that is, you don't need as much as you think you do.
Really? So how much water do you use in your irrigation in a season, say?
I probably use here something like 2,500 to 3,000 gallons. Okay. And I'm watering by hand.
Wow.
This is very
That's
selective. This is as much water conservation and high use as possible. It's not using an irrigation or
for the air. You're irrigating the air.
Yeah.
Why don't you show me about how you build soil?
Soil. Okay, we can go this way. On the way to the soil building, what we have right here, Janaea, is a food hedge.
A food hedge?
You know, fence lines are wonderful places to make best use of, especially when you have food kinds of trees and plants that lend themselves to a linear kind of way. I've espaliered, I've trained these fruit trees to be longer and narrower, and they don't come out into the garden. And then between the fruit trees and the fence, I have all these domestic blackberries.
Okay, all right.
So it makes a wonderful use of space.
And underneath, you're going to stump something else?
Underneath, I will evolve useful herbs over time. And this is kind of a guild. In permaculture, there's a word called guild, where you combine plants that mutually benefit each other.
Great.
So that's what we have going on here.
Okay.
And it's edible.
Nice.
So, yeah, great.
Off to the soil.
To the soil.
I thought you said we're going to do something with topsoil. Why are we here with, hello there.
With squawker.
Yeah? What do they do with soil?
This is the beginning of making topsoil.
3 hens?
3 hens. Chicken manure is famous for its fertility. So what I do here, I have 3 hens, and I throw in here all kinds of weeds. I throw in kitchen scraps. I feed these chickens very well. They're very happy. They get raspberries. They eat somewhat. They love tofu. But over time, they're in here scratching and nibbling and defecating. And over time, this builds up. I throw straw in here also, and a little bit of moisture. You need some water to help this break down. And this turns into soil. And I'll go in here with a shovel, and I'll shovel it out into a wheelbarrow, and I'll take it out into my garden.
And so 3 hens and your straw and stuff is enough for your whole garden?
Well, this is an evolving system.
Okay.
I'll be finding out about that.
Okay.
But they are an important part of soil fertility.
Okay.
And also, of course, they lay eggs, and they're a part of my nutrition as well.
Thanks, girls. Okay.
Well, let's take a look at another part of the soil building here.
Okay. What do we have?
This is more compost. I don't have enough to have hot compost. I just don't generate that much. Some compost piles you have so much green material that it actually gets hot. And my production of that is not so much. But what I do is I do bring kitchen scraps here, and then another part of the chicken coop, I collect chicken manure, and I bring it in here, and I stir it up. I toss it, the worms come, and I have these different bins for different lengths of time. See, this one over here is actually ready to go out into the yard right there, and this is too. But I kind of rotate my use of this space right here.
About how long does it take for you to get, this ready?
From here to there, probably about 4 or 5 months, depending upon the season.
Okay.
Because things break down faster, when it's warmer.
Let's take a look at what you're doing on your buildings
as
well. Okay.
Yeah.
Well, you've got some interesting things going on your roof and your house. What am I seeing here? This structure and back there.
Well, what you see here, of course, this is the south-facing side of the house.
The sunny side.
It's the sunny side. And this is a sunroom right here. And there's glass up on the roof as well. So I got glass wall and glass up in the roof. And then further up, of course, that's a solar water heater.
So in the solar water heater, you're collecting and doing hot water that runs through your whole house for all your needs?
It's just for hot water for bathing and shower. Yeah.
Okay.
Yeah. Interestingly, if you can imagine, I can turn off my electric water heater for almost 7 months out of the year and just go totally on solar.
Fabulous.
And that's here in Eugene.
Which is a rainy place.
In the wintertime, it certainly is. It's cool and showery.
Let's take a look. I want to see closer. Your little sunroom. It's a sunroom, kind of, isn't it? Yeah.
Yeah.
Let's go look.
Okay. Here we are, Janaea, coming into the sunroom right here.
Oh,
interestingly,
nice.
There was a sunroom when I moved in here.
Really?
But since then, a friend and I rebuilt it. It needed to be repaired. But there was a glass wall. And what we did when we repaired it, we put some glass up in the ceiling also.
It's beautiful.
Yeah.
Wow.
Yeah.
I'll bet this is the place to be in the winter.
It has its different seasons, but on a winter day, even when it's 45 or 50 degrees outside, if it's reasonably sunny, it warms up in here comfortably. And then as you're moving into later winter, later February, early March, then I can start thinking about setting up my fan and start circulating air into the rest of the house.
Wow.
And I'm not saying that it makes the whole house toasty.
No, but it just cuts the chills.
Oh, it does. It does.
And now here in summertime, you've got some mesh screening so that it doesn't get too hot.
Oh, it would be cooking in here.
Oh, isn't this beautiful? Look at this. Wow.
There's a little bit of winter squash. These I just started doing today. These are some of the materials I'll use for making kimchi.
Oh, okay.
So when you have an excess at some points, you want to save it for later.
Right.
I do a little bit of drying.
What do we got?
Let me show you this right here. This is quite one of my favorite. These are string beans right here.
String beans? Those are skinny string beans.
But I cut them in half and solar dry them, and then you put them in soups and they reconstitute amazingly. And this is also part of something we're working on in our neighborhood. We're beginning at the very early stages of a little bit of a local economy in our neighborhood. Several people said if I made kimchi,
Yeah.
then they would trade it or buy it from me.
Okay.
So this is kind of the beginning of a little neighborhood.
You got a little value-added thing going
yeah,
on here.
Exactly
okay,
that.
so I got to test this. All right.
Okay,
what is
those
this?
are cherries.
Cherries?
Those are cherries.
All right.
Yeah.
All right. Those green beans are good. I've never had dried green beans, and I guess these would be really
when you put
nice
them in a
with
soup and they reconstitute, they are remarkably. So the variety of fruit and vegetables you can grow here is, I have an olive tree out here, a very small olive. I have a couple of very small citrus, and these are in microclimates.
Even okay, I was going to say even in here.
Yeah, it's a little iffy, but
you have figs.
Yeah, figs do extremely well here.
Pears or apples?
Apples, pears, peaches.
Berries, lots of berries,
cherries.
Ah.
Yeah. This,
when can I move in?
It's a wonderful, right now, it's a fantastic climate here for this kind of agriculture. Yeah.
We're in heaven. I'm in heaven. Thank you.
Ah, good.
So part of what I see in permaculture living, of course, is living with seasons, with what's applied.
Well, you pay attention. You pay attention because you're not so insulated by using so much energy that you don't even notice what's going on around you. When you carry water out in the garden, when you realize what the sun's doing to warm up this room, when you realize what kind of food you produce, you're far more connected to the elements.
When you have chickens that are part of that cycle, your soil, I would imagine that it's very satisfying to you to have, to watch this living system happening.
Oh, absolutely.
Under your hands.
Yeah, I love it. It's as much of an aesthetic enjoyment as anything else. I can appreciate peak oil and climate change and the global circumstance, but equally important to me is just an aesthetic place to live. If we lived in better designed urban places, nicer residential places, we wouldn't be so eager to jump in cars and try to get away from them.
Now that's a point. If you love the place you have, you're not going to try and escape to somewhere else.
That's right.
There's a lot of life here.
Yeah,
a lot of life here.
I literally go for days without even leaving the property here.
But there are factors in that. You've got sort of a density of living, people living here, that's a little different than the traditional suburban house with one family in it, right?
Yeah, well, I'm single.
Okay.
And I originally intended to have housemates. And also another thing about suburbia that I'm working on, suburbia is a land use form regrettable to say the least. We didn't know that when this house was built. This is from 1955. But when we think about energy, we think of foreign military adventures, we think of the environment, the amount of energy inputs to keep suburbia going is just beyond comprehension. The externalized cost on our culture, on our well-being, on community, the inputs that allow suburbia to happen is astronomical. We can't even. So this project is I call Suburban Renewal. Half of Americans live in suburbia, and it's already here, and it makes sense to make the best use we can of what's already here.
Absolutely. We cannot afford, we don't have the energy to take it all down and do something else. We have to work with what we've got.
That's right, and to stop replicating it, which is a big order because our economic system says, build suburbia, it creates jobs, it creates wealth. We can't afford it.
Yeah, and the momentum is there. So your house, you've retrofit to have space for other people, for more people to live here than just, because I saw that you've revamped your garage, so it's now a living space, or it could be a little studio. And I wanted to add that you're building something. Tell me what this is.
What out here I call a bungalow.
Actually, let's go look.
Okay, let's go take a look at the bungalow. Well, leaving the sunroom, this is a water feature right here.
Oh, it's a nice little pond.
Yeah. It's just lovely to have water and a little waterfall that's gravity fed.
Okay.
I love it. And this right here is the bungalow. This is a little infill project right here.
Suburban infill.
It is suburban infill. And I plan to move out here myself. I've got room I do artwork, do some artwork. I have some ideas for making projects with wood.
So tell me about the bungalow. I mean, how's this? What do you have in here? What kind of space?
It's kind of a small footprint.
Yeah.
It's about a 450 square foot footprint.
Okay.
And I'm making some use of the vertical space also. I have 2 lofts on the
okay,
inside.
okay.
I have a guest loft when
Yeah.
friends come to
Nice,
visit.
nice.
Yeah, come and visit.
And your own loft?
And my own loft. And back inside, once again, I have a lot of glass up in the ceiling.
I can see that. So you're going to have some warmth coming in and light coming in.
Yeah, yeah. So, and it's all going to be very highly insulated.
Good.
I'll have 2
Good.
parts. One part I'm not going to heat, and another part I will heat.
Uh-huh.
And in the ceiling of the part that I will heat, I have like R50 insulation.
Oh, wow, serious.
So it's major. It's not that cold here.
Yeah, yeah.
But the less energy you need, the less energy you have to bring from somewhere else. And so I'll open up the 2 spaces when there's enough solar input to make this area warmer, and then I bring the warmer air into the other part, and otherwise I close it off.
So I mean, that's very much like the Japanese, right? You just warm the space you're in, and not the whole suburban mansion mess, right?
That's right. That's right.
Well,
Be a little more selective.
This is really a fun. I love all the angles and shapes. It's gonna and windows.
Yeah, yeah. It's my design, and I wouldn't claim it to be the most green structure. This is mostly from the big box hardware store.
Well, we'll forgive you.
Yeah, but I have
You're
this
doing
pole,
a lot the rest
this
of the
pole
way.
right here. But it's a wonderful example of making use of part of the property that's already all gravelly because there was an existing shed here. And it's shady, so it's a good place. And then that means I can increase the residential density a little bit, because then there'll be space for another person to live in the room I have right now.
In a small footprint. Great.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right, let's do one last trip, maybe. I don't know if it's the last. Your driveway doesn't exist, does it?
My driveway is gone.
Let's see.
Okay.
So what'd you do with the concrete that you took out?
We made best use of it in true permaculture fashion.
Yeah.
We have a lot of opportunities to make best use of what might be seen as a nuisance. So what we have right here is a little decorative structure, and that's my driveway upside down.
Well, it's also, what I see here is a pond.
That's a water feature, yeah.
So you've made your pond from your and the bed, the raised bed, using this as your protection,
exactly that.
Your wall.
And you were also over at the Eco Village, and if you knew where to look, you would have seen some other parts of my driveway over there. We have a popular name for this. We call this urbanite.
Urbanite.
And there's no shortage of it either.
Ah!
But I love the pool. I have a palm tree here. I have a little waterfall here. I sometimes refer to this as Palm Springs, right here.
Well, I would say that your place is Palm Springs and many other places that are treasure troves of. I love your edible walls, and the grapes that are going to come. I mean, it's just, and it's beautiful. I am really astounded at how much you managed to grow here, keep growing. It's a really incredible demonstration of this. There's something here that it works. It
does work. And with a little bit of work, a little bit of effort, every site has its pluses and minuses. Yeah. The soil here is good to begin with. I wouldn't say every suburban location in the country has the assets of a northwest climate or Malabon soil, but there's opportunity all over the country, and makes a lot of sense to me for making better use of it. You can increase residential density, make best use of what's on site, create community, create interest in the neighborhood, have things to do that are satisfying, enjoyable, without having to drive off somewhere looking for something to do.
Are other people in Eugene doing things like this?
There certainly are. There certainly are. There's an increasing number of people who are transforming their properties. And even within walking distance of here, there's 3 other places within a 5-minute walk.
Really?
They're not as far along as this, but their plan, their intention is to create their own version of this. And then further within a bike ride, within a 5 or 10 minute bike ride, there's several more, and then you go more into actually Eugene, and you'll find other sites where people are doing this kind of conversion too.
I think that when we think of the suburban catastrophe, if you will, that notion of starting to take down the fences, starting to use the land, starting to build the soil. I mean, I am so heartened to see that you've got things growing where a driveway was, because I pictured that everything would be dead in that soil,
yeah,
and you've got things growing again.
It probably doesn't have the strontium-90 in it either, because this is like from the mid-50s. And in a larger sense, when you think of all the parking lots all over our urban places, not necessarily to rip them up and turn them into gardens, but to rebuild on those sites, rebuild on the parking lots. There's usually there's transit there, there's already utilities, there's probably already some urban density there. I can almost guarantee you that as time goes on, it's going to be uneconomical to continue building on the periphery, and you will see the redevelopment of parking lots with greater residential density, with employment, with commercial, as what's called mixed-use areas.
I think that when I see the big flat malls, you know, the big box stores, and I think, okay, there's your retail now. Upstairs we'll do the professional offices, and upstairs above that we'll have some residential, that mixed-use model. I can start to imagine us moving back towards walkable, bikeable, services close by, the shops you need close by, kind of village living.
It's called urban villages.
In our modern life.
And this is becoming more popular, but ironically, this is sort of a new trend in much of this country when most of the world is that way anyway. And the larger cities in this country, you could live in a larger city in places like New York, which I wouldn't care to live, but most people don't use a car there because they have transportation and they have the things they need are walkable, and they have a more of an upward construction without sprawling out. We've got wonderful farmland out here and we need to protect it.
Absolutely, you do. And I think that we're going to need to reclaim farmland from some of that sprawl where we can.
Yeah, yeah, and just a small suburban conversion project leads to greater interest, and this is not going to solve all our problems, but making better use of what we have already on site is a big part of transforming the way we live. We're talking about culture change. We're not talking just about growing broccoli in the backyard. We're talking about
a major culture change.
A different economic system. This is what I want. A different economic system, different set of values, perspectives, where people are more cooperative and we work with nature rather than in contrast to nature, and we don't have a national military budget that is approximately equal to the rest of the world combined. That is not a good indicator.
It's not real sustainable on the long term. That is for sure.
Not a good choice.
You're watching Peak Moment, and in this Peak Moment, I'm in this wonderful suburban permaculture, recreated, beautiful place. Peak Moment, community responses for a changing energy future. Join us.